Let's get into it. CFL, NFL, no NBA. Let's start with the Winnipeg Jets and the NHL playoffs. I like that look. Jets squeaking into the playoffs, get a first-round matchup with the Vegas Golden Knights. You know, Connor Hellebuyck is going to be there. He's the best goalie in the series, top 3 goalie. So if we put him aside, what do the Jets need to do to beat the Knights?
Yeah, for me, biggest thing right off the bat would be special teams.
Yeah,
that power play needs to get kicking. You know, it needs to get back to where it was earlier in the season. I mean, it wasn't fantastic or lights out at that point, but it was getting goals here and there. And they kind of got back to it late in the season here with throwing Ehlers onto that number 1 unit, different bit of a look. And they started clicking a little bit more close to the end of the season. So if they can get that going a bit more, Vegas penalty kill wasn't great. It was in the 70%, I think. So
yeah, bottom half.
Yeah, so you got to take advantage of that opportunity, right? And then special teams is big in the playoffs to me. So you got to click, and you need those goals. Penalty kill was good for the Jets all season. It's got to continue in this series to be good.
Yeah, their power play is ranked 20th right now. They're performing below 20%. They have to be better.
Yeah.
And when you do get a penalty against Vegas, because I think they're the least penalized team in the league, they're down there. They like have 60 less penalties than the Jets.
Yeah.
So when you do get a penalty against Las Vegas, you do have to put those in the net. Like you said, they got to score on the power play. They got to make those count every time they have one.
Yeah, most teams that make a good run in the playoffs have 2 things, right? They got a goalie that's playing well and elite kind of level, and then they got a power play or special teams that is clicking. And you need that, especially because games in the playoffs are tight. They're tight checking. And there's usually not a lot of penalties called, as we can see most of the time, right? This is when
let them play.
Yeah, let them play. This is when the refs forget how to ref, and they're just like let everything go, let the clutching go, the holding go, the 20 cross checks after the whistle. So
they got to call the clutching and the holding. We know that's not going to flow, but they are going to let a bit of the after the whistle jamming, and they're going to let that happen. I think that's to the Jets' advantage, actually. To be honest with you, you mentioned Ehlers. Ehlers is one of my factors that they need to really get going. They have to free Ehlers. He's the key to opening up the Jets offense, especially against Las Vegas, who also leads the league in block shots. So you need someone like Ehlers to carry the puck in, open up the ice, use his speed. Like his speed is frustrating to the best defenders in the league. So they have to take advantage of that, free him up. If he has the freedom to open him up the ice, and it'll get guys out of position where they can't be either there to block a shot or they won't be there to block a pass and leave someone else for an open shooting lane. So they got to free Ehlers.
Yeah, and like the battles or the matchups may be like Vegas's first line against the Lowry line, and then Scheifele line against the third line of Vegas, which includes Mark Stone in that. So it may be up to those second lines of both teams who are probably going to play against each other to get the most goals and be a deciding factor in this series. So yeah, Ehlers, he'll have to step up. You know what? This is a great time for him to come out of the shadows a bit, you know, and to prove that he is one of the top players on the Jets or even in the league, you know, and if he could have a wicked series here, the Jets have a great chance, but they'll need him to step up. And so far him, Wheeler and Nemestikov have looked pretty good together.
Yeah. And hopefully he's not hurt. Hopefully there's nothing that really slows him down, because him without his speed and without the confidence of using that speed, I'm not saying he's ineffective on the ice, but he's not going to be a great decoy.
No, and he had a good, strong finish to the season, came on strong and looked like he was coming back maybe from, I don't know if the hernia surgery and injury affected him all season, because he didn't seem like himself at all times this year.
How many games did he play? Like 45, 46?
Not even. Was it that many even? Maybe. Yeah.
Ish.
So,
but yeah, if he can get his game going, like Las Vegas does not have, what have they have, like 4 or 5 starting goalies this year so far? Brossois is the starting goalie. So they don't have the strongest of goaltending. They so depend on those block shots and not being able to harass the goalie. So if they can get into Brossois' face and head, I think that's a good thing.
Well, yeah, and then if you're bringing in, because right now Aiden Hill, Logan Thompson, I believe, are both hurt, so you're going to Jonathan Quick, so who hasn't been the greatest over the last few seasons, and even coming into playing with Vegas, his numbers weren't great. I mean, I think he was still over 3 goals against average. They had a decent winning percentage or win record with 5-2-2 or something like that, but that's because Vegas is also a good team, so you can overcome some goaltending issues sometimes.
Did you say they're going with Quick and not Brossois?
No, sorry. I'm saying if you can get to Brossois and get Brossois out of the net,
I got you.
Quick's not a better option to me right now anyways. So if you can chase Brassard out, you got a pretty good chance to also chase Jonathan Quick out of there too.
Absolutely. Was Ehlers also another one of your factors in the Jets beating the Kings?
No, but to me, it would be, not Ehlers, but the top line. Yeah. That top line of Dubois, Kyle Connor, and Mark Scheifele have to figure it out. And they played well once they were put together. But there's still moments where you're looking at them going, wow, what are they doing out there? Especially Kyle Connor to me sometimes, like with his lazy one-handed stick check and not battling for pucks along the boards. It's like when that guy is battling and he's making his turns down low and all that stuff, he could be a dominant player.
Yeah.
And then even on the power play, just goals. Like he loves to score goals, and he was very good at that earlier in the year, last season and all that. And he just had a slump. And now it was just goals here and there. And that's part of the power play too. If Kyle Connor can get going and start getting goals, it'll help that power play. So, and they're going to face a tough battle against Mark Stone probably. So,
do you think he's going to be back to it? Because he had serious back issues.
He's back.
I know, but he's had physical back issues. Do you think he can be a factor as people believe he will be?
I mean, we'll definitely find out for sure. He is a big guy though, right? And he can definitely he can be a pain in the butt on the ice. We'll see if he can get back to any level that he was before the surgeries and all that.
Yeah,
but I'm not counting the guy out right now. I'll have to wait and see for game 1 tomorrow night and see where that goes.
Yeah, he's not a spring chicken, and that's a lot of back injuries in the past few years. So
amazing that he could be back for the playoffs though.
Yeah, LTIR, brilliant. Brilliant. I'm sure he's been rehabbing for a while. So are there any questions that linger? There's lots of questions, obviously, that linger in Jets Nation's mind going into the playoffs. Let's just rattle off a couple. One of mine would be, obviously, can they sustain the play they've had in the last 7-8 games? I don't want to sound like an ill-informed mouth breather by saying this, but to be honest with you, I'm more concerned about what the Jets do to themselves than what the Knights might do to the Jets. I think as roster, they match very well. Other than Stone maybe being the apparent, bonus player that puts them over the edge, and he might not be 100%. I think on roster-wise, they match pretty nicely. So I just want to see them maintain that last 7-8 games, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it on paper and you look through all the stats and all that, and these two teams were not that far off from each other. Really, the biggest difference is that Vegas was able to cobble together more wins, a few more wins than the Jets. And those are a lot of them in overtime. Like I think in the regular time or whatever, they were pretty close. Their power plays were close. The penalty kills were fairly close. Jets a little bit better. Goals per game and all that stuff against were just almost identical. But Vegas did beat the Jets 3 times this season. So you got that factor in there a little bit. But and the Jets just, to me, they got to bring the pressure. They have to pressure that Vegas D and continue that and not fall back and keep going. And then when the Jets play the best in this bonus system is when their forecheck is on top of it. Yeah. And then it's not just a Lowry line forechecking. It's the top line, it's the second line, it's the fourth line. They're all doing it and they're all moving. So Vegas plays a bit of a 1-2-2 kind of system where their forechecking as well can, get to you pretty good. And the Jets have to weather that storm, and they're going to have to move the puck pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Please. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, the Jets, again, we know the Jets, they got a bit smaller defensemen, right? Vegas is going to try and take advantage of that and bring the pressure to them. Maybe lots of hits out there, but we'll see if the Jets can move it.
They've been very good defensively this year. Yeah. That's one thing I'm not very concerned about. Obviously, if they get broken open, or if there are injuries, then it might be a concern. But defensive play in regards to Bonus's system, just because you mentioned Bonus earlier, I think they've been very consistent on that. And that's actually not a concern of mine or a question that I have going into this series.
No, yeah. And they've given up the 10th fewest goals in the league, the Jets, so far this season. So big change. Obviously, a big part of that is Connor Hellebuck. And to me, he's, like you said before, like we didn't even talk about him, but he's your main story, right? If he can play to the same level, he should give the Jets advantage in net. So now the Jets have to take advantage of that. If Hellebuck's stopping 40 shots, you got to get to Brassard, even if you're only getting 20 to 30 shots, right? You have to make those chances count, and you got to test Brassard out early in these games and see what he can do. The guy's never really been a starter before. He's never started in the playoffs.
No, that's big.
The pressure is there. And now you're facing probably one of the best goalies in the league on the other side. So the pressure is on Brassard he doesn't have to be better than Hellebuck. He just has to be good enough, right?
Yeah.
For them to win. So we'll see.
And Vegas is not a team that scores many goals. Like, don't get me wrong. They're a strong system-led team. But the Jets, if score 3 goals a game, and they'll be in really good shape. The Winnipeg Jets in their last 10, when they've scored 3 goals, are 8-2. The losses being to Carolina when they lost 5-3, and when they lost to Edmonton 7-5. So if they can score 3 goals, with Hellebuck and net, like you say, I think they're in very good shape.
Yeah, Vegas was pretty rounded, like their scores and their points. Like they had a lot of players with even over 10 goals. They had, I think, at least 13 guys with over 10 goals. So they got a lot from every player almost. Like Eichel led the team. I think he was in the 60s for points. But he missed about 15 games or so. And then after that, there's a couple other guys who played the full 80 that were around the 50, 60 point mark as well. But they had a lot of guys in that range. So they get a lot of scoring from everywhere. Yeah. Right? And we've talked a lot about the Jets. Their bottom 6 was not chipping in any goals. And until the last 10 games when Lowry, Niederreiter, and Appleton started to chip in some more. So they got to keep that going as well. And I want to see Lowry, the same Lowry that we've seen for the last 10, 15 games.
And of course, I don't want to compare the 18 team that played the Predators and the Knights in the Western Conference Final. I don't want to compare the teams, but that team also had a great third line. I can't remember who was on that line. Perreault, who else? Maybe Tana.
Armia was still around.
Armia. No? If anyone knows exactly who's that third line, remember they were lights out and they took out their primary line. And this third line here very much reminds me of them, just bigger and faster maybe.
Yeah, and they got to take Eichel out of the game. I'm not saying dirty wise or injury wise or anything like that, but smother him, shut him down. The guy's never played a playoff game yet. This is his first playoff game coming up tomorrow night. Yeah. So show him what playoff hockey is. Be tough, be physical, especially the guys on D. Dylan and Schmidt. Remember Sherrod from a couple of years, like when we had him too, but even in Montreal, when we played that series against Montreal, he was a pain in the ass. After the whistle, before, like everything around that. Dylan and Schmidt have to be those guys. Yeah,
I totally agree with you. And that'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, because if you give Eichel a few shots after the whistle in front of the net or cross checks or whatever, like we say, the rest are probably going to let that stuff go.
Yeah. And he's not going to want to stick around.
No, you wear him down and you get him scared to go to the front of the net. So
absolutely. Oh, there's a pathway to win this one. So let's talk about first rounders. There's a pathway.
Hold on. What do you think of the times of these games for the Jets in Winnipeg?
Oh, don't get me started. Actually, you did get me started because you asked the question. It's stupid. The Jets never get the advantage in scheduling at any point in time, and not even the playoffs. We can't even get our time zone. Why did you ask me that question?
Because you know what? It like you say, yes, the team that finished first gets the advantage of the first 2 home games and whatever times they may be. We're playing at 8:30 Central Time, right? So in Vegas. Now you come home to Winnipeg and you get a game at 3:00 on a Saturday afternoon and then a game at 8:30. Who's that helping? That's helping Vegas more than it's helping the Jets. And you're on the Jets' home ice. So to me, it doesn't make sense. And I get it. We're playing the same day as the Leafs or whatever, but you're not helping the Jets out. And to me, that's an advantage for Vegas that they're playing mainly in their right time zone area or whatever. So
absolutely
frustrating.
Absolutely. And it's not surprising.
Yeah.
Not surprising at all. So let's talk about that first round. We're already talking about the Knights and the Jets. So who you got in this first round?
I can see this going actually 7 just because they're very close in team wise and stat wise and all that stuff. But unfortunately, I am taking Vegas and I'm picking them in 6. I don't know. Are we picking games or are we just picking winners here? But I think Vegas will take it unless Hallie can ultimately steal it.
Why wearing that jersey, bro?
I'm still a fan of the team, man. I'm just making a prediction on it.
I get you. I'm going to be a homeboy. I'm going to be a fan. I'm going to go with the Jets. I like the way they've been playing, and I believe in Connor Hellebuck. I think he's a difference maker, like you mentioned earlier, and I think it'll go Jets in 6. Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like. Leave a comment. Tell us what you think.